Hi YouTubers, welcome to Amazing Gadgets. You may be here because you are a subscriber to my channel or because you are trying to figure out how to do high-speed photography. And that's exactly what I will be teaching you today.
Real special week to me. I lived for 2 weeks inside it, and let me tell you what launching an Endeavour is like. So after about a year of training, you finally are down in Florida and you put on a big old ugly orange suit that makes your bottom look big. And you waddle out to the little bus that takes you out to the launch pad, and up the elevator you go. It's about 4 in the morning, maybe 3:30 in the morning. It's about 35 degrees out and really cold. I had to borrow some gloves from one of the workers.
So right now, you may be wondering, why do I have this video clip of this guy talking about the Space Shuttle Endeavour and what it's like being inside? Well, if you're not very familiar with the news, or you don't follow up on the current updates, you may know that recently Endeavour has retired. Endeavour is a space shuttle that has flown 25 missions, including 12 to help construct and outfit the space station, and it logged nearly 123 million miles in flight during the 4,671 orbits it performed. It has served us a very long time and helped us further understand our amazing and unique universe. However, as with everything, it has to retire. So, sorry, getting my notes behind the back here. So, on September 21st, 2012, that's exactly what it did. It made its flight from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida all the way to the Science Center Museum in LA. And along the route, it passed over lots of famous landmarks, including the NASA Moffett Field near Mountain View, the Golden Gate Bridge, the Monterey Bay Aquarium in Monterey. Those are just some of the landmarks, and I was able to go to the event near Mountain View at the NASA Moffett Field, and I was able to take some photos there. And I thought, what a great subject. I'm pretty sure all of you are excited about spaceships, right? Space shuttles, spaceships. I know all of you are interested, and what great subject to do on high-speed photography than this. I could show you some photos I took there while teaching you guys high-speed photography. You're going to enjoy this video. If you're interested in the rest of the speech, I will actually be adding that to the end of this video, so if you want to watch the entire speech, well, at least the part I videotaped, I didn't videotape the whole thing, by the way. Only videotaped part of it, you can watch it at the end of this video. So, yeah, let's go ahead and show you some of the settings I use for high-speed photography. When doing high-speed photography, you will obviously need to set your camera on TV or shutter priority mode. On Canon cameras, a TV stands for time value. I currently actually have my mode dial set on custom function 3 because I sometimes do high-speed photography and I want to easily access the options that I already set up on the camera for high-speed photos. And I will teach you how to set the custom functions later in this video. So let me show you all some of the stuff I set up on here. Well, obviously if the object's flying or like moving, you need your camera to set into L servo. I mean, all these options on the screen can be actually adjusted by the Q button over here. So AI servo, sorry, is the focus tracking mode on Canon cameras. I don't know about Nikon's because I obviously don't have one, but the AI servo mode is a focus tracking which constantly focuses on your subject. And for your the photo take mode, you want the high-speed multiple shot mode. So that means it will continuously like burst mode, yeah, high-speed burst mode. right here, you want to set it on high speed. I generally set my AF to zone AF because the focusing mechanism on the whole thing is actually a little off when it's tracking because it only tracks in the center. The zone AF is a little better for tracking because because the objects will be in the middle of your viewfinder anyway. So I usually use zone AF in the center. Then I usually use center weight average because if your object's like a bird or something, it's actually gonna underexpose the bird for the sky, and so I like to use a center weighted average metering because again your subjects will be in the center. Now you might see I have it on ISO auto here. Generally I don't like using ISO auto. I like to control my ISO, but as you know, the new firmware update on the EOS 70 actually lets you set the highest maximum ISO, and it's actually in the menu here. So let's check. So it's actually in the third menu, and as you can see, you can actually set the maximum ISO here. So I don't like to go over 800, but for these photos, I just put it at 400 because it should be enough. So ISO auto, if you can set the max, great. If you can't, I would recommend probably not picking the lowest ISO because that's bad. You probably want to go between a 200 to 400 ISO depending on how fast the object is going. And for the time or the shutter speed, you want something fast. I usually go with the default of 1/1600 second shutter speed because this is pretty much fast enough. Again, I can't give you a definite shutter speed as it depends on how fast the object is traveling when you're taking photo. Another tip I would like to give you is I usually enjoy shooting RAW plus S or JPEG small and a big RAW file because you have more workroom later in post-processing. But this RAW photos, it just slow down your burst mode. I mean, if you ever tried doing the burst thing, here, why don't I just show you? Turn off. So you can actually do this, and as you can hear, it's going to actually slow down a bit. There it's slowing down because the buffer is full and it cannot take any more photos. So and that fast anyways. So let's put it back on else AI servo mode. So yeah, I like to use RAW because there's more room in post-processing later, but if your camera's not that fast, maybe you should use JPEG. No, or I could take off the small JPEG preview. I like to have a small preview because it's easier to view the photos on the computer than just having a RAW file, which can only be opened in Photoshop or special softwares. If you plan on using the same options for high-speed photography like a lot, I would actually recommend setting it on one of your custom functions on the dial. If I turn over the camera, you can see there's like 3 custom functions on the Canon cameras, a C1, C2, and C3. That means that you could actually set it so it uses the same options every time. So you could have the same options to deal with when you're shooting that particular type of photo. So I find it useful. I have all 3 used. So for custom function 1, I actually have it set up on HDR photography. As you can see here, the exposure bracketing is activated, and I have it on f/22 because for landscapes you want the maximum depth of field, and it's usually on a tripod anyways for me. And I have it on the continuous burst mode for HDR because it's going to be taking 3 photos. On my C2, I have it for the scenario where I am ready to take a landscape photo, but I'm too lazy, or maybe I don't have my remote shutter release plugged in or with me, so I still have it on f/22 because I always have my tripod, so it doesn't matter. So the shutter speed don't matter, and I have it set on a 2-second delay. And for C3 is what you've been looking at here with my high-speed photography with all my settings set up. So first of all, to set it, you'll have to put it onto the TV mode. Yeah, so put it onto TV. Okay. Shutter. The shutter priority thing. Yeah, shutter priority mode. Sorry. Then you press Q and you go ahead and set all the options to whatever you like on here. Just like use the mode, just dials and just dial in the options. All of these will be saved in the custom functions. All the settings, same settings, including the shutter speed. Ooh, right. And then you go and press menu like I just did. Then you have to go into the, let's see, where is this? So, which number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The ninth menu over on the Canon EOS 7D. And you should see an option called Camera User Setting. Press that. Press Register. And you just go to the mode dial which you want to register it on. C1, C2, C3. And you press... what is it? And you press Set again to set it on that mode dial. Since I'm already set, I'm not going to press the set button here. Let's move on to some tips for taking photos and how I usually work in the field for these kind of photos. So I'm out here now to show you some tips on how to do the photos. And I'm just going to pretend I'm in the field right now working. Now again, like I said before, I can't give you an exact shutter speed because it will depend upon how fast your subject is moving and how well you're good at panning your camera. Panning. First of all, with these high-speed shots, you do not need a tripod actually. So after you set up the settings and stuff, you don't need a tripod. Take the camera off the tripod now. And this first tip, it might not be very good for all types of high-speed photography. But again, like the Space Shuttle on Friday last week, the Space Shuttle launch is actually a good one because it's planned and you know when it's coming and you know approximately how fast it's going to be going. So one thing I did that day for that is I actually, since there was their airport was nearby, I actually took some test shots of planes taking off over there to check if my settings will work or not. And it's kind of like these planned events where you know how fast it's going to be going, find an object that's going around the same speed, and you can actually take some test shots of the stuff that's going at about the same speed as what you're going to be trying to take a photo of later to test to see if your settings will blur your image or whatever. And yeah, that's a really good tip. But if you're like taking photos of birds and stuff, you don't know how they're gonna move, so and you don't know when to expect them, so this tip might not help you out with wildlife photography. But with airplanes and stuff, you know, you could actually take some test shots of airplanes before, if there's an important airplane later you want to take a photo of, just like the Space Shuttle flyover. So now the second tip for me is, like, you see your subject flying overhead, right? So let's turn it on. You see it flying overhead and it's like moving, but what I like to do is like take 3 shots, so continuous burst. Let's see. So I do like 2 to 3 shots, then I'm gonna try to focus on it again. And I'm gonna take a few more. What this does is, because later in post-processing, you're obviously not going to need all those shots, right? You'll need 1 or 2 good ones. So like I showed you before, after taking lots of raw photos, your camera will actually slow down because the buffer is full. So it's good to like take 3 shots, but keep following the subject as you as you wait, then take a few other shots, you know. So also give the camera some time for the AI servo to focus better. Even though it's focusing during the shots, it will actually work a lot faster when you're not actually taking a photo. So it will give the AI servo, the tracking system, some time to refocus on the subject. And it will also give you some time to frame up your subject again, because when the mirror is up, you obviously can't see what's going on. So what I sometimes happen to do by accident is I just like take a photo of the subject and I forget to move the camera when I'm doing it. So and it's no longer in the frame and I have to reframe it. So yeah, when you're taking the photo, make sure you're moving it even though you can't see the view through the viewfinder when the mirror is clicking. That's one thing that you have to remember to do. So I hope these tips have helped you, and again, if your subject is completely unpredictable, it's pretty much a process of trial and error with a shutter speed. There are no tips I can really offer you on the correct shutter speed. Again, it depends on how fast your subject is moving and stuff. So everything in photography is trial and errors. That's pretty much the main skill of photography, trial and error. I mean, photographers can only teach you the basics. You have to learn the rest yourself. And it's again, practice makes perfect. So if you get good at this and these tips helped you, your photos should look something like this. So the first photo here is of the Boeing 747 taking Endeavour and flying over the NASA Moffett field. Well, the next three photos are all from the event. The first one shows some of the building. Again, with the composition, I think you should include some foreground and stuff into the shot and background, you know, always. So the first shot was done at 220 millimeters at f5.6, 1/1600 second at ISO 160. Again, I set my camera to auto ISO. It should go from 100 to 400, so it shows 160 on this one. So let me give you a moment to look at the image. So the second image is still of Endeavour, and it was taken at 190 millimeters. I didn't zoom all the way in because I think also with photos like this, especially with like the NASA event thing, I left some margins on the side just to be on the safe side. You know, you got some crop space there. You could crop and reframe the photo. So I like to leave some margin on the photo when I zoom into the subject, not just fill the whole frame. And it's fast moving, so I mean you got room for error in case that you don't pan all the way toward it. So I like to leave some margin on the photo. As you can see from these photos, there's some margins on the side. So the second image is at 190 millimeters, f5, and 1/1600 second like the first one. And this one was shot at ISO 125. And let me give you a moment to look at this photo again. So now the third image is still of Endeavour, obviously. This one was shot at 220 millimeters, f5.6, f-stop 5.6, f5.6. Sometimes photographers like to skip words. So yeah, the 5.6 is the aperture, obviously. If you're a beginner, well, that's the aperture value. When we say f5.6, f-stop 5.6, that's the aperture value. It was also taken at 1/1600 of a second, and this one was done at ISO 220. And again, let me give you some time to look at the photo. Okay, now the fourth image is actually not from the event. I took it the next day when I was outside. It's of a pigeon. and it was done at 300 millimeters, f5.6, 1/1600 of a second at ISO 250. Like wildlife, I was just lucky with the shutter speed. I was able to get it. I actually had a few other shots I messed up on, which I didn't keep, so I can't show you any of those messed up shots. But it was motion blurred and it was slightly out of focus. Again, AI servo, sometimes it will actually hit the subject, sometimes it will. On my other ones, it actually focused on the background instead of the pigeon, so I just erased those immediately. I don't want to keep it, so I can't show it to you. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you like photography, I run my own photography blog. A link is in the video description below. I also have more photos from the Endeavour flyover, and it's also on my photography blog. I will also have a link in the video description below. So thanks for watching, and if you want to see the rest of the speech, I will have a little thank you for watching note that will run for a while. Then I'm gonna stick the part of the speech I recorded after that. So yeah, around 15 to 20 second slide, then it's gonna be the clip. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you want more photography tutorials. I will be doing a lot more of this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.
Is NASA rock or what? We're driving a nuclear-powered SUV on Mars today, right now. There's people in California at the controls of that. Lots of people in California had a hand in designing it. The whole NASA family is proud of that. There's an International Space Station, 1 million pounds of metal and human beings and the heart and soul of decades of NASA effort working right now. You can see it in the night sky. Most of you probably have. And then just in here in a little while, we're going to see an example of some of the most amazing flying machines you've ever seen in your life. Now, just to see a 747 airliner fly down the runway with its gear up at 200 feet is a pretty special thing. And the fact that it's got the most incredible flying machine ever designed on its back is even more amazing. You'll never forget this. I'll never forget this. I've only seen this a couple times myself. But Endeavour's close to me. It's a real special piece to me. I lived for 2 weeks inside it. And let me tell you what launching an Endeavour is like. So after about a year of training, you finally are down in Florida and you put on a big old ugly orange suit that makes your bottle look big. And you waddle out to the little bus that takes you out to the launch pad, and up the elevator you go. It's about 4 in the morning, maybe 3:30 in the morning. It's about 35 degrees out and really cold. I had to borrow some gloves from one of the workers there as I stood around in my spacesuit waiting to get on to my rocket ride. After almost 2 hours of preparation out there on the pad, finally you're strapped in, you're laying on your back. It's completely dark outside. The engines start, there's a huge rumble and shake, and then when the solid rocket boosters, those big white rockets on the side, when they light, it's like being rear-ended at a traffic light on Castro out there. It's really a big jolt, and you're off to the sky. We went up to a cloud layer that was lit up like the 4th of July, even from the inside of the shuttle. About 4 from the inside, and this was the most spectacular one I've ever witnessed from either inside or out. So that started 2 weeks of the final construction mission to the space station. That put on this beautiful window on the space station, and then we got to open the covers and look out at the Earth for the first time. Just one of the zillions of things that Endeavour has done. And this space shuttle that you're about to see would not have been possible without the people here at NASA Ames. Way back when we were all a lot younger, maybe not even born yet. People here at NASA Ames, some very wise, creative people, came up with an idea for how a spaceship should be shaped in order to come back to the heat of reentry and survive. So the blunt shape, the kind of a lumpy shape of the shuttle you're going to see here today really came right out of right here, right where we're standing here. And there, after that, thousands of other people were involved in designing many aspects of the space shuttle. Besides its shape, it's the fact that it had thermal protection tiles on the belly, and for which I am very thankful, because it kept me cool as we went through almost 3,000 degrees of heat coming down to the atmosphere. But how come Ames is so special? Is it because they're always engineers and scientists who are geniuses here, much smarter than me or anybody else we know? Well, yeah, there's a few people like that, but mostly it's just motivated people who went to school, who studied hard, who rose above their own sense of limit to do something nobody had ever done before. And now, the result of that was a spacecraft that did something completely outlandish and audacious. Nobody could have imagined that a spacecraft like that would work even one time. And it worked for decades, 3 decades, to build the space station up to the sky and lots of different kinds of science in Earth orbit. So that's something to be proud of looking back, but looking forward, it's something to motivate us, each of us. That you too can do something that nobody will believe in the future. And people will look back at what you did and say, wow, those people must have been geniuses. That's the legacy of Ames, it's the legacy of the space shuttle. It's sad to see a miracle go into a museum, but way more than that, it's proud and it serves as a shining example for what we humans, right here in California, right here in Mountain View, can accomplish if you really put your hearts in it. So thanks to all of you for all of your heart and your support, and enjoy every second of today. It's about the coolest thing you're ever going to see.
Thank you, Steve. And I want to say on behalf of all of us, we really appreciate your contributions to the shuttle program, to the space program, to the nation. And it's just that much extra special for us that you're a local guy, so thank you.